There is panic on the left. Abject panic on the left over oral arguments today. Jeffrey Toobin, who is a lawyer, works at CNN, says today was a train wreck for the regime. We got the audio soundbites coming up in just a second. The facts also continue to pour in on the Trayvon Martin situation in Sanford, Florida. It turns out that George Zimmerman is a registered Democrat and self-identified Hispanic American. Not white Hispanic American, but Hispanic American. George Zimmerman, registered Democrat. And there are other interesting things that are surfacing in that whole case. But let's first explain what happened. I'll tell you what, grab soundbite 2 before we get to soundbites 23 and 24. This is last night. We'll do a little timeline here involving Jeff Toobin. Last night on Charlie Rose, CNN legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin, who, by the way, for those of you old enough to remember, he is the son of former NBC News reporter Marlene Sanders. He wrote a big book after the OJ trial, and he's been at CNN for quite a while. And Charlie Rose says, Jeffrey Toobin, how big a deal is this Obamacare case at the Supreme Court?
Epic, awesome, enormous, huge. This is the biggest case involving the power of the federal government since the New Deal. And if this law is struck down, the federal government is going to look very different the next day. And lots of plans and lots of existing programs are in jeopardy. So, I mean, as big as you think this case is, it's actually bigger.
Last night, Jeffrey Toobin accurately describing the size and scope of Obamacare. Today is political breaking news, but we've got the sound bites. It's on CNN. Toobin, quote, this law looks like it's going to be struck down. I'm telling you, all of the predictions, including mine, that the justices would not have a problem with this law were wrong. If I had to bet today, Wolf, I would bet that this court is going to strike down the individual mandate. Tom Goldstein, attorney and co-founder, center-left SCOTUS blog. The individual mandate is in trouble, significant trouble. Los Angeles Times, Noam Levy. Tuesday's arguments may signal trouble for the mandate, widely seen as a cornerstone of the law's program for achieving universal health care coverage for the first time in the nation's history. Politico, breaking news. The conservative justices and potential swing vote Anthony Kennedy raised concerns today that forcing Americans to buy health insurance would open the door to other intrusive requirements in the federal. What was so hard to predict about this? This is right to my point. What's so hard to predict that this thing is unconstitutional? It is unconstitutional, and a Civics 101 student in junior high, after having the Constitution explained to them, would know this. And here come these legal experts. There's no way the justices are going to strike this down. There ain't no way. And then after one day of oral arguments, these same experts, probably just as qualified as the economic experts at the Associated Press, my God, these justices, they don't like the individual man. Well, we're in big trouble. Here's Jeff Toobin. He's on CNN this afternoon. The co-anchor Ashley Banfield said, tell me everything, Jeff. What happened today?
This was a train wreck for the Obama administration. This law looks like it's going to be struck down. Justice Kennedy, the swing vote, was enormously skeptical. Every comment Kennedy made, at least that I heard, was skeptical of the law. The wild card in this argument was Chief Justice Roberts. Chief Justice Roberts actually asked a lot of hard questions. Roberts seemed like a much more likely vote to uphold the law than Kennedy was.
So you had to find something positive after saying today was a train wreck for the Obama administration. And again, as I'm telling you, all these predictions, including mine, the justices would not have a problem with this, were wrong. If I had to bet today, court's going to strike it down. Wolf Blitzer then weighed in.
This is really huge, what you're saying, and you're an authority on the U.S. Supreme Court. You've written the major book on the current Supreme Court, the 9, so you fully understand. But just because a justice is asking tough questions, let's say of the government lawyer, Mr. Varelli in this case, that doesn't necessarily mean that that justice is going to come down on the other side. Isn't that right?
It's true, but it's not very true, Wolf. Yes, it is true that sometimes we're surprised by the justices' votes after hearing their comments at oral argument. Most of the time, and it's not all the time, but most of the time, the questions that the justices ask at oral argument are very good predictors of how they're going to vote.
So the left is in panic. Wolf Blitzer in panic, looking for a life preserver from Jeff Toobin, who didn't give him one. And they're shocked. This is what's funny. They are shocked. We aren't. Well, now we might be, because we're surprised that the Constitution is actually being adhered to here, or appears to be.